All right, let's get ready to rumble. I don't quite think I would do it this way, but it's unique. And the question that's been weighing on our mind, we'll get to that answer and more. Welcome back. Thanks for stopping by Two Hands and a Foot. We won't tell you who's who. Before we get started, as always, go ahead, click that like button, click that subscribe button, click that notification bell so you never miss an episode, and then share this with all of your friends. Let's get into it. Alright, so out in Virginia, in the state of Virginia, the House Assembly is having some close races. They're right now, the conservative side of things is right now the majority of the House Assembly there. And there are some contested races going on. One in particular is an interesting race that happened to pop up in the news cycle here recently, where a lady named Susanna Gibson is running for a House seat. Now, why is this strange? Well, Susanna Gibson is, I guess, what you could call a pornographer. The issue, though, is how that all came about. Now, I mean, she's a nurse, married, 2 kids, and she films herself having sex with her husband and then puts it on the internet. Okay. Fair enough. You know, at least she's faithful to her husband, so to speak, in the physical sense. Doesn't stop there. What happened, I guess, is someone found out and decided to let the general public know that this is what she does on the side, or what they do on the side, and is using this as an example of saying we don't need her or this type of person in our House Assembly. The issue, though, which is interesting, is she says that it's the worst gutter politics. It won't intimidate or silence her. But she said that the exposing of the videos is an illegal invasion of my privacy designed to humiliate me and my family. End quote. An illegal invasion of my privacy. You posted them online regardless of what you thought of the site onto which you posted these videos, which was your first mistake. Second, you thinking anything posted online is private or will remain private. You're not upset that you do that activity. You're upset that now people know about it. Tough cookies, lady. I guess the cliche phrases, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen, or if you can't do the time, don't do the crime. You know, whatever apropos phrase you want to use. Tough cookies, lady. You did something stupid, and you expected the stupid not to be revealed. Regardless of what you think of what she did, it's not an honorable set of behaviors. I guess you could say it could be worse. Sure. uproar. But the expectation of privacy when you post things online, sorry, the phrase is the internet's forever. Well, it's going to happen. You do those types of things, it's going to end up getting somewhere, somehow, some way. It's going to happen. So, I don't know. I don't know what in the world you're thinking, lady. Don't know what you're thinking. Staying in that realm, so to speak, the question's out there. Tucker Carlson interviewed the guy and the biographer and all this stuff. The question out there is Obama gay? Now, the biographer came out and said, he's fantasized about those activities. Well, an ex-girlfriend said so. Tucker Carlson interviewed this supposed guy who did these activities with Obama, cocaine and homosexual activities. And so the whole system is in an uproar. Is Obama gay? My reaction is this: I don't care if that's the case. And I'll tell you why. He's done worse things. If we're arguing, complaining about over his sexual nature, we've missed the point by a long shot. In land navigation, you have to make sure that you are on your degree and following that path, because even 1 degree off over a greater period of time, you're going to be missing your mark by hundreds, if not thousands of feet, depending on how far you are going. And so, depending on where you're at, that hundreds to thousands of feet affect what's happening and what's going on and what you're going to be doing then. The same thing, if we're focusing on whether or not Obama snorted cocaine and performed homosexual acts with this guy and talks about homosexual acts with an ex-girlfriend, who cares? He's done far worse that has not been addressed appropriately. Get to that. Those are criminal acts. This stuff, as bad as it may be, that's to the side. That's not even on the back burner. That's not even on a warming plate. That hasn't even been thought out yet. Stop with that stuff. Go with the stuff that he's done that's not good. Lawfully good. The stuff that he did to divide this nation. Who cares about that question? Focus on the other things. Speaking of other things, New Mexico. New Mexico. I don't know if you're aware of how the Democrat Party likes to do things. But Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham of New Mexico recently put out an order to suspend the Second Amendment, basically, in her state for areas that fall under certain criteria for number of homicides per population. In this case, basically the city of Albuquerque and some of the areas around there. So, and she did this under the, emergency health protection type of a thing. saying that the Constitution and those rights are not absolute. We'll get to that in a minute. Interesting thing to note, her own Democrat Attorney General won't defend the state at all when it gets sued or is being sued for this. Even he says, I'm not dumb enough to go for this. There are still some Democrats who understand the functionality of the rights we have been given. You can't just arbitrarily suspend them. And the key word there is arbitrarily, or arbitrary. You just can't willy-nilly suspend a constitutional right. There is a process by which you amend the Constitution. Actually, there are two ways you can amend the Constitution. Neither of which she ran through to make this decision to suspend the Second Amendment right. Now, there are a lot of sheriffs that are coming out in the state. There are police officers in the city and in that county, sheriff's officers in that county, who are saying, nope, we're not gonna uphold this. We're not gonna arrest people for it. And they even had a protest where a couple hundred people got together, open carrying, no issues, in support of the Second Amendment and in protest against her unconstitutional edict. So, why did this happen? And why New Mexico? Exactly. That's the point. No one's going to think about New Mexico. This is going to be forgotten here shortly because, honestly, nobody thinks about New Mexico. So the Democrats pick a governor in a state that, no one knows, but it's solidly blue. And they try. Similar to a couple of years ago, remember, imposing on our rights and privileges. And they're testing how far they can go. We're hearing this again. It's happening again. This just happens to be something different than what we had a couple of years ago. That's the round two of that's coming. We're talking about they're setting up a flare to see how people respond to this. Communist countries know that if they take away the weapons, they can then therefore take away the rest of the rights. The Second Amendment is there not to protect people who want to go deer hunting. The Second Amendment is there to provide protection from a tyrannical government. You eliminate the weapons, they can eliminate the rest of the rights that citizens have. The Second Amendment is there to protect the rest of the Constitution. So, when the people fear the government, there's tyranny. When the government fears the people, there is freedom. Look it up. So, in this instance, okay, we'll back off for a little bit. She's being staunch, what have you. She'll probably still win another election, re-election for the next however. But it was a test. Hey, we got to get him to shut down stores and wear items and provide chemicals, mandate chemicals. We got to do all of that. Let's see if we can. Next. Little pushback. Okay, well, not right now. But they're testing to see for the next time they can do that kind of thing. And we need to be wary of that. We need to be really, really wary of that. But that's why New Mexico. Because if this was New York or this was California or even Texas or Iowa or some other state that is big when it comes to elections or population or media coverage, then it would be a bigger deal and longer in the news cycle as opposed to what it is now. No one thinks about New Mexico. Don't forget, though, trying something out. Enough of the bad stuff. As you know, I am a sports fanatic. Fan, for short. And we are smack dab at the beginning of football season. College football, professional football. We're winding down in baseball. We're coming to the fall classic, as they call it. But football season has begun. And the last 2 weeks of football have been amazing. Let's start with college football. We got several upsets. Week 1, Florida State ran over LSU. Didn't just squeak by, ran over LSU. 45-24. Week 2, Florida State demolished Southern Mississippi, 66-13. And they're going up against a 1-1 Boston College this week. No one saw Florida State beating LSU, let alone running them over. LSU's hurting now. They can't lose another game if they want to end up in the playoffs, college football playoffs. Alabama. Everybody hates the dynasties. They hated the 49ers. They hated the Steelers. They hated the Patriots. They're hating Alabama. Eventually they'll hate Georgia. For dynasties of sustained excellence, teams with sustained excellence. So Alabama, week 1, sleepwalked and easily manhandled Middle Tennessee State University, 56-7. And then Texas rolls into town in week 2 and provides a good beating of Alabama. 34-24. A good-sized beating of Alabama. Now, the question is does that tell of the rise of Texas or the fall of Alabama? I say it's a mixture of both, but college football is getting better and better, and the talent is spreading out farther and farther. Now, Alabama has South Florida to play, and they're both 1-1. I think Alabama's got it. Texas, on the other hand, is going into Wyoming. Both are 2-0, but I think 2 different levels. So I think Texas, can start off the season 3-0. LSU, it has Mississippi State to play. Mississippi State's 2-0. LSU's 1-1. LSU cannot lose, and this was a danger game for them. Now they have to play kind of like they're behind the 8 ball, so to speak. On the professional level, let me give you some context to this. My father was in the military, and so we were stationed in Missouri for most of my life. And when I was born to when I was about, exaggeratingly saying 10, maybe a little sooner than that, I didn't know that there was a sport outside of New York Yankee baseball. Proud to say I'm a diehard Yankee fan. Disappointed in this season. Diehard Yankee fan nonetheless. But that's the household I grew up in. Diehard Yankee fans. And so when I started learning about other sports, generically, we were living in the state of Missouri at the time. And at that time, they had the St. Louis Rams and the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, the Rams stank horribly. Not much better, but great teams of the late 80s, early 90s, of the Marty Schottenheimer era. Tony Gonzalez got in there. You know, that was the hope. Contesting for, you know, a division title every year is what we were going for. And so I fell in love with the Chiefs. The Chiefs are my NFL team. Speaking of upsets, yes, week 1, I know. Game 1, I know. My beloved Chiefs lost to the Detroit Tigers. 21-20. Oh, close game. And we had Travis Kelce out and Chris Jones was out. And I knew our wide receiver core was going to be depleted this year. I just didn't know how bad it was going to be. But surprisingly, you know, the Chiefs are, you know, vying for another Super Bowl championship. And of course, the teams that the Chiefs usually have to go through are the Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals, both of which had their own upsets. The Bills lost to the Jets 22-16. The Bengals got they got used as a mop by the Browns, the Cleveland Browns, 24-3. And so everybody's questioning, oh my gosh, the AFC is now wide open. Hold your horses on that. But, you know, we like to say those things, and yes, it's a shake-up, and the Chiefs, I'm speaking for the Chiefs, we can't afford to lose anymore, because that game, that was the oops game, and we can't lose anymore. Otherwise, we're going to miss out on seeding. But thankfully, the Bills and the Bengals lost as well, so we can maybe, you know, rectify that. Speaking of the AFC, they have to go. See, this week the Bills are playing the Raiders, the Chiefs are playing Jacksonville, and the Bengals are playing the Ravens. So I think out of all that, the Bills have the best chance of going 1-1 for the first 2 weeks. I don't think the Raiders have it. You know, Jimmy Garoppolo will go whatever, but I don't think they have it. I think the Bills rally, and I think the Bills are going to take the Raiders. The Chiefs and the Jags, it's a coin flip. The Jags have been getting better every year, and often challenge the Chiefs in the playoffs as well. So that's going to be a tough one. The Bengals, it depends on the same thing for both teams. Which team shows up? Is this the Bengals with Joe Burrow that, you know, smokes a cigar after the national championship, or is this, you know, and is this the Ravens where when they put together, you know, Lamar Jackson can take over a ball game? Which teams are going to show up? But I think all three of them can pull it off. I'm hoping the Bills lose. I'm hoping the Bengals lose, and I'm hoping the Chiefs win. That's what I hope is going to happen. I think the Bills are going to win, plain and simple. I honestly think it's a coin toss-up for the Chiefs and Jags, but I think with Travis Kelce back and I think with Chris Jones back, I think we can edge them out. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs there. And I think, I don't know if Joe Burrow is actually hurt or whatever, but I think the Ravens are clicking right now. And so I think the Ravens are going to overtake the Bengals in this, and the Bengals are going to end up starting 0-2. That's what I'm thinking. So, upsets, sports world upsets. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen with these teams or any other teams, you know, this coming week. You know, we just had the Eagles and the Vikings just play, and the Eagles beat the Vikings. I wasn't going to challenge that outcome. But we have, Colorado. They're 2-0, double the wins from last year. Colorado State's up. They could start 3-0, and the Deion Sanders prime time era in Colorado can get off to a 3-0 start. Or Colorado State can pull off an upset. Who knows? We've got these upsets. Sometimes upsets are fun to watch. It hurts when it's the Chiefs, but sometimes upsets are fun to watch because then that just throws into the mix a bunch of uncertainty. And that's a level playing field. When there's so much uncertainty, that levels out that playing field a bunch. It gives teams that traditionally don't have a whole lot of confidence, and teams that do have a lot of confidence, they're a little shaky now. There's more at stake for some things, so there's more pressure and therefore more opportunities to make mistakes. So I like that. Sometimes I like that shake up of confidence and those upsets happening. So we'll see. We'll see what upsets happen. If you have any upsets to guess, put those in the comments and we'll see. On that note, that's all I have for today. So you can follow this channel on X as usual. I am now also on Rumble. Go there, subscribe, share it, and let's get this channel going. Everything we discussed, I've got all the links in the description, so you don't have to worry about trying to find it yourself. Have a great afternoon, evening, night, morning, midnight snack. I don't care as long as it's good. I'll catch you on the flip side.